Most people wake up, and the first voice they hear is their doubt. Not their alarm, not their partner, not a bird chirping through the curtain. Doubt. That voice that says, "You're behind. You should be further. You're not enough." And everyone knows it. And before their feet even hit the floor, they're already in a fight, a silent war, not with the world, but with their own thoughts. And that's the part no one sees. You don't see it on their face. They still smile, they still post, they still go to work and reply, "I'm good, just tired." Because saying, "I feel like I'm slowly disappearing inside my own mind," would be too real for a Tuesday morning. Here's the truth. You live inside a brain that's wired for fear, for comparison, for survival, not peace. We were never taught how to think clearly. We were taught how to perform, how to chase things, how to fix ourselves, because apparently we were broken to begin with. Think about it. You scroll through 1,000 lives before breakfast. You compare your raw reality to someone's filtered highlight reel. You're told to manifest a better life while quietly breaking under the weight of the one you already have. It's too much. The pressure to always do more, be more, earn more, be seen, be validated, be applauded, and for what? You feel like you're falling behind, but no one ever told you. The race you're running doesn't even exist. It was designed to keep you distracted, to keep you loud when what you need is silence, to keep you running but never arriving. That's why we're here. This video isn't about motivation. It's not about giving you hype or tricks or shortcuts. It's about untangling your thoughts, about stepping out of the noise, and finally hearing yourself again. Let me say this now so it doesn't surprise you later. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to remember yourself. That voice in your head, the one that doubts you, it wasn't born with you. It was built by comparison, by criticism, by people who projected their pain onto you and called it advice. You weren't born thinking you weren't good enough. Someone handed you that belief, and you carried it so long it started to feel like your own. This video is not for the person who's got it all figured out. It's not for the loud, the arrogant, or the obsessed with being seen. It's for the person who's still fighting, for the one who's been quiet for too long, the one who feels invisible but still shows up, the one who doubts themselves, but deep down still hopes there's more to them than this. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not weak, you're exhausted, because fighting your own thoughts every single day, that's a battle people rarely survive, let alone win. But here's the twist. You don't need to win the war in your head. You just need to stop believing every thought that marches through it. You need anchors, not noise. Clarity, not clutter. Stillness, not stimulation. That's what this is. Not 6 motivational quotes. Not 6 affirmations to chant into a mirror. These are 6 things you tell yourself every day. Not to sound good, not to look wise, but to stay sane. To remember who you are when the world tries to make you forget. So, I want you to sit back, or better yet, lean forward. This is not passive listening. This is active remembering of what matters, of what's real, of what still lives beneath the noise. We begin now. 6 things to tell yourself every day. 6 anchors to keep your mind from drifting into doubt, to keep your peace intact, to remind you you're still here. Before we begin, if you're new here, welcome, truly. This space was made for you, not for the perfect, not for the polished, but for the quiet fighters, the ones who keep showing up, even when no one claps, the ones who carry heavy things and say nothing. This channel is not a brand, it's not a trend, it's a lifeline, for the minds that overthink, for the hearts that overfeel, for the people who feel a little too much in a world that tells them to just move on. If you're someone who's come back here before, Thank you. Thank you for trusting this voice again. Thank you for keeping this space alive. You are seen, even in your silence. You matter, even when you forget how to say it out loud. If this video already speaks to something you've been feeling, if you want more of this, not noise, not fluff, not hype, but something that actually holds weight, then subscribe. That's how you support the work we're doing here. That's how you make sure this kind of content doesn't get drowned out by everything else screaming for attention. This is the part of the internet where we don't scream. We sit with things. We process slowly. We speak honestly. And we heal, one quiet truth at a time. Thank you for being here. Let's keep going. 1. I don't need to be liked to be valuable. You've probably felt it. That quiet ache when you realize you've spent more time trying to be liked than being true to yourself. It's subtle. It doesn't scream, but it cuts deep. The constant chasing, the constant adjusting, the constant pretending. You ever walked into a room and felt invisible, like the air was thick with other people's opinions? But no one seemed to notice that you were even there. No one saw the work you put in, the fight you carried, the way you showed up, even when you felt like a shadow in your own skin. It's exhausting. It's painful. And yet, so many of us live like this. We shrink ourselves just to fit in. We hold back, hoping that if we stay quiet enough, if we're just the right kind of quiet, someone will finally see us. Someone will finally hear us. Someone will finally value us. And it's a dangerous game, because the truth is, the more we shrink, the more we disappear. Social media doesn't make it easier, does it? We're constantly measured by likes, shares, comments. A cold number on a screen that has no real weight. You scroll, you post, you wait, and wait, for validation that never quite feels enough. You get ghosted, you get ignored. Your worth is reduced to a number on a screen, and when that number drops, so does your sense of self. It's a game that was never meant to win, a trap that keeps you running, but never arriving. You know what? You don't need to be liked to be valuable. Let that sink in. You are valuable because of who you are, not because of who notices you, because of what you stand for, not because of what people say behind your back, because of what you give to the world, not because of the applause you hope to receive. You see, this isn't about how loud you are or how many followers you've got or how many people think you're important. This is about something much quieter, much deeper, much more enduring. This is about internal value. I want to tell you a story. There was a young artist named Emily. She spent years creating her art, painting, sketching, designing. But the world wasn't kind. Her paintings went unnoticed. Her exhibitions were empty. She was underestimated. Her name hardly known. She was ignored. Emily could have stopped there. She could have given in to the noise, to the doubt that said, "You'll never make it. You're not good enough. No one cares." But Emily didn't. She kept creating. She kept pushing herself. And you know what happened? One day, after years of silence, one person walked into her gallery. Just one. And that person was someone who understood her work, someone who saw value in what she was doing, not because of the number of followers she had, not because of the likes on her posts, but because of the truth in her work, the depth in her soul. And that one person, they changed everything. They introduced Emily to a world that valued her for her, not for a superficial version of herself. But here's the thing. None of it would have happened if Emily had stopped creating, if she had stopped believing in her own value. You don't need applause to be worthy. You don't need external validation to prove you matter. You don't need a crowd of people shouting your name, because the quietest truth is this: you are enough as you are. I want you to think for a moment. If the world never celebrated you, if you never got that recognition, that validation, that applause, would you still keep going? Would you still show up? Because your worth isn't tied to what others see. It's tied to how you carry yourself. It's tied to how you honor your values, your time, your energy. It's tied to how you move through the world with purpose. That's where real strength lies. In the quiet moments of being yourself, without needing to explain why. I know you've been told otherwise. I know the world tells you that you need to be seen to be worthy. But here's what the Stoics understood long before we had social media or followers. Value is internal, not external. So, what if, just for today, you stopped chasing the validation of others? What if, for just one moment, you stopped trying to shrink yourself to fit into places where you weren't meant to be? What if you told yourself, I don't need to be liked to be valuable. I don't need to be seen to matter. I just need to be true to myself. That's the power you're stepping into. And it starts with one simple truth. You are worthy. You are enough. You don't need anyone's permission to be you. 2. Peace is worth more than proving a point. Repeat this with me. My peace is worth more than proving a point. Say it again. Not for me, for you. My peace is worth more than proving a point. Now breathe. Let that sit in your chest for a second. Because some of you've been in battles that never should have started, trying to defend yourself to people who already made up their minds, trying to explain your heart to someone who only ever listened to respond, trying to prove to the world that you're not what they said about you, and it's draining you, not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You know what it feels like. That moment someone sends you a passive-aggressive text. You see it, you feel it hit. The blood rushes to your face. Your fingers start typing a paragraph. Long, detailed, layered, a full defense of your character. And then, you delete it. Not because you're weak, not because you couldn't clap back harder, but because you're learning. You're learning that not everything deserves your energy. You're learning that silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's strength. It's sovereignty over your own mind. You have nothing to prove. Nothing. You've already survived what they'll never understand. You've already rebuilt yourself from places they never even saw you fall. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to justify your distance. You don't need to respond to everything that disrespects you. Because peace is expensive. And the more you argue with people committed to misunderstanding you, the more you spend yourself into emotional debt. Let me tell you something that took me too long to learn. You don't need to be right in their eyes, to be at peace in your soul. Not every battle is yours. Not every insult is worth catching. Not every invitation to chaos deserves your RSVP. I want you to picture this. You're in a crowded room. People talking, shouting, throwing opinions around like knives. Someone looks you in the eye and says something false, unfair, unkind, and you feel the urge to respond, to correct them, to fire back, to defend your name. But instead, you turn and you walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understand. Some people don't want clarity. They want conflict. And you're not available for that anymore. You see, there's a power in choosing silence, a rare power, not the kind of silence that hides, but the kind that holds, that says, I know who I am, and I don't need you to approve it. I don't need you to clap for it. I don't need to stand here and bleed my truth just so you can believe I'm good. You know who wrestles the most? People who feel misunderstood. People who've been misjudged, misquoted, mislabeled. People who grew up needing to defend themselves because no one else would. But you're not that child anymore. You don't owe the world your constant explanations. You don't need to fight every time someone throws dirt on your name. Let them throw it. Let them talk. Let them project. Because what's real will survive it. And what's fake will fall on its own. There is more freedom in peace than in being right. There is more power in walking away than in shouting louder, and there is more healing in quiet dignity than in loud revenge. Say it with me again, out loud this time. My peace is worth more than proving a point. Let that be your anchor when the noise gets loud. Let that be your answer when someone tries to pull you into a war that isn't yours. Let that be your weapon, silence, because you will earn more in this life from restraint than you ever will from revenge. Let the world talk. Let them guess. Let them misunderstand you. But you, protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Because once you lose it, you start fighting battles you were never meant to fight, with people who were never meant to reach you. The next time you want to clap back, pause. The next time you feel the urge to send the long message, pause. The next time someone says something reckless and expects a reaction, pause. And in that pause, ask yourself, is my peace worth this? Because I promise you, most of the time, the answer will be no. We're not here to be loud. We're here to be clear. We're not here to argue. We're here to live. We're not here to prove anything. We're here to protect what matters. And right now, what matters is your peace. Say it one last time with me. My peace is worth more than proving a point. Good. Now keep going. 3. Slow progress is still progress. Slow progress is still progress. Say that with me, out loud, even if your voice cracks. Slow progress is still progress, because right now, some of you feel stuck, like no matter how hard you try, nothing is changing, like you're climbing a staircase, but every step feels like you're dragging your whole past behind you, and no one sees it. No one sees you trying not to snap today, trying to drink more water, trying to scroll less, trying to show up, to the gym, to your job, to your life. It feels like you're trying and trying, but the mirror doesn't change. Your energy doesn't come back. Your thoughts don't quiet down. And a part of you is starting to wonder, what's the point? Let me tell you, the point is you're still here. You're still showing up. And that counts for something. Because surviving in a world that profits off your self-doubt, that's a form of rebellion. Because healing in a culture addicted to quick fixes, that's a kind of strength no one claps for. You've been taught to only celebrate results, the six-pack, the job title, the dramatic before and after. But let me ask you something. Where have you already grown, but forgotten to notice? Because maybe it's not loud, but maybe it's there. Maybe you don't rage the way you used to. Maybe you say no a little more than you used to. Maybe you're sleeping with fewer nightmares than you had last year. Maybe you made your bed today, and last year you couldn't even get out of it. That's progress, real progress, the kind the world won't post, the kind no one claps for, but it matters. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience, from pain, from lessons, from scars that taught you how to stand even when it hurt to move. And I know it's hard to feel proud of things that feel so small. But hear me. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying small stones. That's not just poetic, that's truth. That's Stoicism. That's life. Every time you choose to keep going, even when no one notices, even when you're tired, even when your progress is invisible, you are winning a war most people quit on. So what if it's slow? So what if the scale hasn't moved? So what if your mind is still noisy? Did you try today? Did you breathe through it instead of breaking? Did you get up? Did you keep moving? Then you're further than you were yesterday, and that's enough. Let me ask you something. If you could see yourself from 5 years ago, would that version of you recognize the one standing here now? Would they believe how far you've come? Would they see the battles you fought and won in silence? because I think they'd be proud, even if you're not, even if all you see is how far you still have to go. Progress isn't always forward. Sometimes it's stillness. Sometimes it's choosing not to self-destruct today. Sometimes it's making one better decision in the middle of 100 tempting ones. Progress is telling yourself, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm also not where I was. And that's something. Let me paint you a scene. It's 6:30 a.m. No one's awake. Your room is cold. And your mind is already telling you, just skip today, stay in bed. You'll try again tomorrow. But you get up, you make your bed, you brush your teeth, you drink a glass of water, you sit for a moment in silence. That's it. To the outside world, it looks like nothing. But to your inner world, it's everything. That's progress, that's discipline, that's healing, that's strength, done quietly. You don't need a dramatic transformation to matter. You don't need a full reinvention to be respected. You just need to keep returning to yourself. Keep choosing growth over comfort. Keep choosing effort over excuses. Keep choosing yourself, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Say it again. Slow progress is still progress. Even if you whispered it, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Because one day you'll look back and realize every small step mattered, every tiny decision added up, every quiet win built the foundation for the life you were too tired to imagine but strong enough to fight for anyway. So today, celebrate the small things. Did you show up for yourself today? In any way? Good. You're doing better than you think. And if no one told you this lately, I will. I'm proud of you. I see you trying, and I know it's not easy. Before we keep going, take a second. If something in this has hit you, if a part of you whispered, "That's me," then pause right here and subscribe. Not because it helps the algorithm, but because it helps you stay close to this kind of truth, the kind that's not loud, but lands. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who's tired or hurting or quietly hanging on, share this with them, not for views, for impact. And if this has brought even a flicker of clarity, tap like. It's a small gesture, but it tells us to keep going, to keep making space for this kind of honesty. All right, let's keep walking. Number 4, not everyone deserves a seat at my table. Not everyone deserves a seat at my table. Say that gently. Say it with peace, not anger. Say it like you're finally telling yourself the truth, after years of pretending you were okay with less. Because here's the thing. Some of the people closest to you are the ones who drain you the most. I know that's not easy to say, especially when it's people you grew up with, people who were supposed to protect you, people you've laughed with, cried with, maybe even bled for. But there comes a time when you realize that love isn't supposed to feel like a transaction. That support shouldn't always come with strings. That connection without respect isn't real connection at all. You're not crazy for feeling tired around certain people. You're not cold for needing space. You're not cruel for choosing peace over proximity. Let me say that again. You are not cruel for walking away from what used to feel like home, if that home now feels like a battlefield. Some people, they only reach out when they need something. They only show up to take. They only love you on their terms. They make you feel guilty for growing, for healing, for setting boundaries. You say no once and suddenly you're selfish. You take a day to rest and suddenly you're distant. But you've given and given and given, and now you're empty. You've been pouring into cups that never once refilled yours. And for what? Because it's family? Because they were there for you once? Because they've known you the longest? But knowing you the longest doesn't mean they know you now. And blood isn't the same as respect. Let me tell you a hard truth. History doesn't equal loyalty. Just because someone's been in your life for years doesn't mean they're healthy for your future. And just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to let them sit at your table. There's a difference between kindness and access. You can love people from a distance. You can forgive them without reopening the door. You can wish them well and still walk away. Because here's the Stoic truth. You owe kindness to all, but closeness to few. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and rearrange your furniture, eat all your food, and then insult your taste in art. But every time you let someone toxic stay too close, every time you ignore the red flags, explain yourself again, stay silent to keep the peace, you let them walk into your inner world and destroy your balance. That's not love, that's self-abandonment. So let me ask you something. Who's at your table that no longer deserves to be there? Who gets the best of you while giving you the bare minimum? Who drains your spirit and then tells you you're too sensitive when you finally say something? You're allowed to walk away from that. You're allowed to choose stillness over stress. You're allowed to want quiet instead of conflict. You're allowed. I want you to picture this. There's a long table, a table you built with your time, your energy, your honesty, your heart. Each seat is sacred. Each seat represents your emotional availability. And at that table, you decide who sits down, not out of spite, not out of ego, but out of clarity. You realize you can't afford to keep giving away pieces of yourself to people who only know how to take. That's not bitterness, that's balance. You've spent so long carrying the weight of other people's expectations, so long trying to be the good one, the mature one, the forgiving one. But who's been that for you? Who's sat with you in silence when your heart was heavy? Who's checked in when you went quiet? Who's actually earned their seat? It's okay if the list is shorter than you hoped. You don't need a crowd. You need real ones, present ones, respectful ones. The ones who don't make you shrink to stay close. The ones who make space for your boundaries, not punish you for them. So here's your reminder. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people are meant to watch you from a distance, and that's okay. It doesn't make you heartless. It means you finally learned the difference between connection and attachment, between obligation and alignment. You are not here to be emotionally available to everyone. You are not a 24-hour service center for broken people who refuse to heal themselves. You are not a cushion for sharp edges. You are not a lifeline for people who keep choosing to drown. You are allowed to be kind and distant. You are allowed to say, "This no longer serves me." You are allowed to love without returning to the fire. Let's keep going. Your peace is waiting. Let's clear the table. 5. What I feed my mind shapes my life. What I feed my mind shapes my life. Say that slowly. Say it like you're just now realizing how much power you've been giving away. Because most of us, we protect everything except our mind. We put locks on our doors, passwords on our phones, privacy settings on our accounts. But when it comes to our thoughts, we leave the gate wide open, letting anything and everything come in. Noise, negativity, comparison, chaos. And then we wonder why we feel tired, why we feel like we're drowning in thoughts that don't even sound like us anymore. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. Your mind becomes what you soak in daily. It's not the big dramatic moments that break you. It's the quiet consumption, the mindless scrolling, the gossip you didn't shut down, the doom loop of comparison you fed right before bed. Let me tell you a story. There was a time in my life when the first thing I did every morning was grab my phone. No intention, no filter, just instinct. Scroll, tap, swipe, news, anger, opinions, insecurity, everyone's highlight reels, everyone's hot takes, everyone's life, but mine. And I thought I was just catching up. But really, I was poisoning my day before it even started. I'd get out of bed already feeling behind, already feeling not good enough, already wondering why my life didn't look like theirs. And it wasn't because my life was bad, it was because my mind was saturated with trash I never filtered. We don't even realize we're doing it. We call it staying informed, but it's really just low-grade addiction. We say we're relaxing, but we're just distracting ourselves from the silence we're scared to sit in. But the mind, it's not neutral. It absorbs everything. It keeps score. It remembers what you feed it, and it quietly begins to mirror it. So if all you feed it is drama, don't be surprised when your inner world feels chaotic. If all you consume is curated perfection, don't be surprised when you feel like a failure. If all you hear is gossip, anger, comparison, don't be shocked when your thoughts turn on you, because the brain doesn't filter what's true, it just absorbs what's repeated. The Stoics said, "Guard the gates of your mind," because everything starts there. Your choices, your beliefs, your mood, your direction, your life. It's not just what you do, it's what you think before you act that shapes everything. So let me ask you, what are you letting in? What voices are you giving your attention to? What content fills your day before you've even touched your purpose? Because attention, that's your real currency, and you're spending it every single day. If you want to change your life, you have to start with your inputs. Here's what helped me. Real, small steps that made a huge difference over time. 1. Curate your feed. Unfollow accounts that make you feel less than. Mute the noise. Follow substance. Turn your digital space into a sanctuary, not a battlefield. 2. 10 minutes of silence daily. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just breathe. Let the dust settle in your mind. Let the silence teach you what noise tried to bury. 3. Question every thought. Not every thought is true. Some are inherited. Some are old pain wearing a new mask. Ask, is this mine? Is this helpful? Is this true? And if it's not, let it go. You are not powerless. Your mind is not your enemy, but it does become what you feed it. So feed it well, feed it truth, feed it peace, feed it quiet. Say it again with me. What I feed my mind shapes my life, because that's the root of it all. You can set goals, you can build habits, you can grind all day. But if your mind is infected with fear, doubt, and distraction, you'll sabotage every single thing you build. That's not weakness, that's programming. But the good news is, you can rewrite it. You're not doomed to stay in this loop. You're not too far gone. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. Start today. Unfollow what weakens you. Tune out what doesn't feed your soul. Choose silence over noise, even if it's uncomfortable at first, because over time, your mind will start to clear. And when your mind clears, your life follows. You are what you give attention to. Let that shape your choices. Let that reframe your days, and let it remind you you're still in control. 6. I am still here, and that means I'm not done. I am still here, and that means I'm not done. Say that with me, not for motivation, but for remembrance. Because if you're watching this, you're still breathing, still trying, still here. And that means one thing: you didn't quit, even if you almost did, even if you were right there, staring into the quiet, running the math on how much longer you could keep pretending you're fine, wondering if maybe the world would be better without you in it. I know, I've been there too. There are some battles you don't post about, no updates, no proud of myself captions, just getting out of bed, eating a real meal, answering a message after days of silence, not giving up, even when no one would have blamed you if you did. And if that's where you've been lately, I want you to hear this in your bones. You're not weak for being exhausted. You're not broken for needing time. You are still here, and that means you're not done. Let's get honest. You felt shame for not being further. You've compared your journey to people who didn't carry your wounds. You've blamed yourself for the pain someone else caused. You felt like a failure for simply trying to survive things you never should have had to go through in the first place. But healing is not linear. Growth is not always pretty. And strength, real strength, looks a lot like survival. The Stoics didn't worship perfection. They didn't seek comfort. They practiced endurance, clarity, persistence. They understood something most people forget. Survival is strength. Starting again is strength, not in a loud, dramatic, heroic way, but in the quiet, gritty, I'll try again tomorrow kind of way, in the crawl through the day kind of way, in the no one sees what I'm carrying kind of way. That's what makes you strong, not how fast you move, but the fact that you haven't stopped. Look at yourself. Really look. You're still here, and that means the worst day didn't win, the darkest thought didn't win, the moment you thought would break you forever didn't. You're not healed yet, but you're healing. You're not who you want to be yet, but you're not who you used to be either. You're somewhere in between, somewhere sacred, still building, still breathing, still fighting. Let me paint this for you. A forest burns, gone, black, silent, and for a long time it looks like death. But underground, the roots are still alive, the soil is still working, and then, one day, a single green sprout breaks through ash. That's you, right now. Maybe nobody else sees it yet. Maybe your life still looks scorched on the outside, but something in you is rebuilding slowly, quietly, faithfully. And just because no one sees the sprout doesn't mean it isn't growing. You're not starting over, you're starting from where you are. And where you are is not the end. It's the edge of your next chapter. It's the pause between pages. It's the inhale before the return. So if you've been waiting for a sign not to give up, this is it. Not because everything will magically get better, not because pain disappears overnight, but because you've made it this far. And I promise you, that means something. Say it again with me. I am still here, and that means I'm not done. Let that become your anchor. Let that carry you when nothing else makes sense. Let that remind you, there is more to you than what broke you. There is more to come than what you've lost. You are not finished. If you've cried through this video, if you've listened in silence, nodding, hurting, breathing, then I want to say this to you directly. I'm proud of you. If you forget everything else, just remember this. You're allowed to take your power back quietly. You're allowed to grow in private. You're allowed to heal without permission. Let that settle. Let that be the echo in your mind after the world has gone silent. Because maybe no one told you this before, or maybe they did, but not like this. You don't have to announce your comeback. You don't need an audience. You don't need the perfect routine or the right mood. You don't need to prove to anyone that you're rebuilding. You just need to begin, softly, in your own way, on your own terms. Your strength, it doesn't need applause. It doesn't live in posts or progress pictures or public milestones. It lives in the moments no one sees, when you whisper, "I'll try again." Even when no one's listening, when you unclench your jaw after holding it for hours, when you get up off the floor, again, when you choose not to go back to what broke you, that is the quiet comeback. No lights, no audience, just you and the fight to return to yourself. And hear me now. You don't need to be fully healed to begin. You don't need to be confident to take the next step. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to show up. Shaky, uncertain, tired. Still, show up. Because there's power in that. Sacred, undeniable power. The kind that turns slow progress into permanent change. So take the pressure off. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to explain your healing to anyone. You don't need to rush. Your healing, it gets to be slow. It gets to be non-linear. It gets to be yours. Say these things to yourself every day until they become your default setting. Whisper them in the mirror when you're too exhausted to believe them. Repeat them on the bad days when you want to disappear. Say them when you fall short, when you relapse, when you break down again. Say them like a promise you haven't given up on yet. Because the quiet comeback isn't about proving anything, it's about reclaiming everything you were told to hide. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not late, you are still becoming, and that is enough. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it to the end. Thank you for not quitting, even when no one would have blamed you. If this spoke to you, if this gave you even a second of stillness in the noise, subscribe, because we're not done, not even close. There's more to rebuild, more to remember, and more of you to return to. Say these things to yourself every day until they become your default setting. Before you go, I want to leave you with one last thing. Comment the one truth you needed most today. I'll be reading every one, because sometimes just writing it down is an act of reclaiming, and sometimes your words might be the reminder someone else needs too. Let this be more than a video. Let this be a small corner of the internet where people can be real without being judged, where we don't compete, we connect, where we don't perform, we tell the truth. And if this gave you something, even just a moment of stillness, a breath you didn't know you needed, a sentence that stayed with you, subscribe. We're building something different here, quietly, together, and you're welcome anytime.